What would be the difference that we could all look at? Because obviously there's going to be differences in carry distance, but where there's that big significant change is if I have a little look at the AOA here, which is basically our angle of attack. That's how the club is sort of striking down on the back of the golf ball. We can kind of see with the 5-iron it's -2.1, -2.4, and then -4.5 on the last one. So there's definitely sort of more of a descent angle of the club striking down on the back of the ball. Compared to the driver, a plus number of 3.3, 3.4, and then 3.1. So there's a big shift in terms of the 5-iron is much more downward, the driver is much more upward. So the other slight difference would be the club path. So because on the 5-iron I'm striking more downward, the club path is pretty much sort of zeroed out. So 0.2, 0.8 and 0.0. So really neutral sort of club path. On the driver, it starts to move a little bit more towards the right hand side. So 2.2, 3.7, 1.6. But that's all happening very much because of my intended movement of the difference, which I'm going to share with you now. So the difference between the 5-iron and the driver. Ball position, yes. Obviously by moving the golf ball slightly further forward is going to improve the angle of attack, which we saw on the data that I hit on the flight scope. So if I sort of got set up comfortable with driver and then something like 5-iron, it would look something like so. So you can kind of see the way that the driver ball position would be on the instep of my lead ankle, and the 5-iron would be probably 3 inches, again, instep at lead ankle. That's the reason why I chose 5-iron rather than using a 7-iron and plonking the ball just left of centre or something. You know, because it just shows that, yes, the ball position does make a difference, but there's also other things that I'm going to talk about as well. Now, what else is essentially causing that shift in angle of attack and that shift in club path? And it's a lot to do, I think, with the start of the downswing. So once I kind of get set up, whether it's driver or 5-iron, I'm going to put the club across my shoulders. I would generally suggest that my backswing feels very much the same with both of these. But the downswing definitely feels different. You see, with the 5-iron, I really feel like I start to move very much downward, and I almost get a very conscious effort of my chest moving over the golf ball like so. And then as I sort of trigger a rotation, end up finishing like this. With the driver, I definitely get more of a sense that I feel like my head stays back more, and it's more my lower body that shifts towards the lead hand side. Now, what does that do? Well, if I sort of, this time move the club, so I put my hands across my shoulders and I sort of draw a line, say, through the centre of my pelvis and through the centre of my head. As I sort of swing back and look like so. But you can see if I was going to use the 5-iron, I'd move like this. Okay, and if I was going to hit the driver, I'd move more like this. And you can see that what happens on the second swing, so the first swing again, let's say everything's moving together, second swing, more lower body. And what that's doing is that's introducing more of an axis tilt. So it's basically increasing the tilt for the driver compared to the 5-iron. And what that's doing is that's giving me the ability to hit more up on the golf ball. So I think you need that. I think what you need to do is, yes, your ball position needs to change, but you don't want to change your backswing. I see a lot of amateur golfers, you know, particularly with obviously changing to the driver, where they start to sort of try and move off the golf ball, and that hinders your ability to rotate and load in that backswing position. But what you do need to do is you don't really want to transition in the same sort of manner with driver, because you're going to get a little bit too steep. So it's more about feeling like you're keeping your head still and shifting the pelvis, and that's a feeling. Your head's still going to move a little bit with your body, but that's exactly what you need to try to do. Now, by producing more of that tilted angle, it's going to change that delivery of the club. So you're going to have that ability to swing, should we say, more in to out, yeah, hit more up on the golf ball. And exactly what we saw in myself, that's going to help you do things like get a better spin rate on the golf ball and just become much more efficient for gaining more distance with your driver. If you kind of move in a similar iron swing, not saying you can't find fairways, but you're potentially going to lose distance, you're going to strike down on the golf ball more, you're going to produce more spin. It's just not going to help you out quite as much. So I'm hoping this video has helped, and I would just suggest that you practice very much that. In front of the mirror, if you like, let everything move towards that lead side, and then feel like it's just more the lower body that leads towards that lead side, and you keep your head back. Or that's what I do. I don't necessarily think so much about just my lower body separation and motion. I think just more about my head. I think more about head, yeah, let my head cover the golf ball, let my head stay more back behind the golf ball. Hopefully that helps. I'll speak to you guys again really, really soon.